Hey everyone, welcome back to our high-level video series. Starting videos will always be high level, and as we get in the weeds, we'll go over it a little bit more. My name's Carl Carpenter. I'm with Arrakis Consulting, and today we're going to talk about risk. Again, it's high level, so not designed to take a whole lot of time. As we create these in the weeds videos at a later date, we'll put the links in the comments, and you guys can go watch them at your convenience. So grab a coffee, or if you're like me, grab a beer, because it's 5 o'clock somewhere and on a Saturday. So let's get into it. So what is risk? Essentially, risk is the possibility of some sort of loss or damage of some kind, who knows what, that as a result of some sort of uncertainty or possibly a threat of some type. And it's important to understand that threats don't always have to be human related. So risk can take a variety of forms. It could be financial loss, data breaches, things like that, cyber attacks, who knows. And in the context of IT and business, which are very much interconnected now, risk is going to probably have some sort of quantifiable dollar value to it in relation to the financial impact on the company or the operations, or the bottom line, revenue and profitability and things like that. So, but having said that, it's also super important to understand that when we talk about uncertainty, which could be anything, we also have the concept of threats. And it's important to understand that threats don't always have to be human-based. You could have an environmental threat, like maybe a forest fire, which is a risk to your company if you had a company in a forest. Or maybe you have a company that depends on power, and there's a forest fire 100 miles away, and the power lines leading to your company got melted or turned off or something like that. And then you can also have other businesses that could present a risk to your company or your client. So there's quite a different varieties of risk that could happen. So what can happen? So first off, it's important to understand that in today's world, IT and business are definitely interconnected, and there's all sorts of far-reaching consequences as a result of that. So I don't know of a single company that doesn't use computers to run their business. I don't know of a single person that does not have a cell phone that is accessing their company's information on it. So we have laptops, tablets, phones, servers, all this good stuff, websites. All of these are interconnected for the benefit of the company itself. So we have to understand that just because we think something's not important, that doesn't mean there's not a risk attached to it. So, and as a part of what can happen, we can talk about data breaches. That's a huge risk. You could have the loss of confidential information, which may have some regulatory impacts to it. You could have reputational damage. Look at the Target breach. They were affected by that breach for years, and it's still discussed today in the cybersecurity world. You could have legal liability. Maybe the risk led to something that should have been taken care of from a contractual standpoint, and the company just never did it for whatever reason. And then on the other side of things, maybe not necessarily IT related, in relation to risk, we have business risks. So maybe, for example, we have a supply chain disruption of some sort. Maybe there's some critical component that has nothing to do with IT, but that critical component is created by some other company and they just can't deliver them fast enough. Or maybe they created and started the delivery process, and then maybe it was on a super tanker or something, and the super tanker sank. There's all sorts of BMWs and Mercedes cars at the bottom of the ocean because of hurricanes. Then you can also have economic instability, or i.e. a recession, or maybe you're doing work for a customer and the customer just doesn't pay or doesn't pay on time. And then you can also have regulatory changes. So we're going to be talking about, actually we released a video relating to privacy on the 5th of February. 2023, where we talked about how privacy wasn't really a thing until like 1976. But all of us would have thought that privacy would have been considered way before 1976. So as the regulations change, a risk would be that you're not up to speed on those changes, which is a big deal. So we always want to stay up to date on what laws we have to follow. Then, of course, from the other aspect, we have environmental risk like hurricanes, tornadoes, anything else that Mother Nature wants to throw at us or just throw a curveball. So all of that is actually viewed as risk. So as a part of having risk, we would identify it and we would want to manage it. So ironically, that's called risk management. So we would want to make sure that we manage our risks and so on. So why is risk management important? Well, first off, it's critical to the organization because it helps those organizations identify risk and prioritize how they're going to mitigate or remediate the risk, whatever it takes. So some risks you might want to look at how easy it is to fix, and in other cases you might want to look at the dollar value of the risk. Do we want to accept the risk or do we want to fix it? If it's a quick win for a risk and a low dollar value, maybe we should look into that. So by managing risks, not only are we going to be regulatory compliant, but we're also reducing the impact of those risks in affecting our clients or our business, which is obviously going to help our profit margin or revenue stream and so on. So by effectively managing those risks, then what we're essentially doing is we're supporting our operational continuity and helping to secure long-term success in a better manner as opposed to just kind of hoping. So I do want to point out that there's absolutely no way to reduce risk. You can only there's no way to remove risk completely. You can reduce risk, but you can't remove it. So essentially, if you're having a conversation with somebody and they say, in our company, we have zero risk in any possible way, they don't know what they're talking about. So there's quite a few things. So other examples of how we could reduce risk from the IT standpoint is, we could set up the, whatever equipment we have in the network correctly and set it up correctly using an established and approved network or security architecture plan. And the reason I specifically say that is because there's a lot of people out there that are purchasing good equipment and then they're misconfiguring it. You can get a Cisco or a Palo Alto firewall, which are great firewalls, and simply misconfigure it, and it becomes a bad firewall. That doesn't mean it's a bad product, but whoever configured it, kind of screwed up. All right, so to mitigate risks in IT and business, what we really want to do is have a fairly proactive approach. And that would include, implementing good security measures like firewalls, antivirus software, having a good backup plan, having a good BCDR plan, things like that. Testing the BCDR plan, testing the backup to make sure, if you restore something, it's working. Making sure your antivirus is always up to date, and you're not backing up ransomware, things like that. It also means that you have to actively, proactively, and regularly, consistently monitor everything you're doing to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do. And when you monitor, you want to document somehow in your ticketing system that you're doing that, because those are audit items. So and then obviously, since we just did a BCDR video, I'm definitely going to point out that a really good plan is to have a solid BCDR plan in place to help reduce those risks. And a good BCDR plan is going to be something that's going to try to cover as many risks as possible, and then create playbooks on how to mitigate those risks if it rears its ugly head. And I'll put the link to the BCDR video in the comments so you guys can can watch it. But it's extremely informative. But do not assume that a data backup solution is BCDR. It's a tool that helps support BCDR, but that's all it is. All right, so to wrap it up, super important to understand and manage risk. It's essential for the success of any organization, and it's also required by every single regulatory environment. There's no regulatory environment that allows you to avoid assessing risk or managing it. So by identifying and mitigating these risks, you're going to help your client, you're going to help your company, and so on. You'll help maintaining, continual operational continuity, and long-term success is always easier to deal with that way. So with that, thank you for watching this video on risk. A more detailed risk video will come out where we'll talk about inherent risk, residual risk. We'll talk about quantification of risk, super important. If you have any questions or you'd like to learn more about our IT and risk management services, feel free to reach out to us at sales@arrakisconsulting.com. And naturally, we won't object to you subscribing to any of our channels. So with that, thank you very much, everyone. And enjoy your coffee or your beer like me. Thank you. See ya.